title?
I'm the Director of Business Development for Government and Public Safety.
Entails.
Probably more than anything, I'm an advocate, an evangelist, and an educator about telematics. It's still a relatively new technology in the government and law enforcement space. So I'm making agencies aware of the benefits of telematics and dealing with the number one killer of law enforcement officers in this country. We lose more officers by vehicular incidents than anything else. And it's something that we need to change and we can change. And we're very much a part of making that change.
Define your role.
Sure. In this role, as much as anything, I'm an educator, I'm an evangelist for telematics in the government and particularly law enforcement space. It's still a relatively unknown technology, and it's something that can absolutely make a difference in the number of officer fatalities we have every year from vehicular incidents, which is the leading cause of death for police officers in this country.
Don't know what it is.
It's a broad category. It's really an intelligent and connected vehicle that provides data from that vehicle to a central location in typically real time that can help in driving behaviors, vehicle health and maintenance, and even things like directions and more consumer-oriented features. In this specific instance, we're dealing with driving behaviors and as well as vehicle health and maintenance issues, but we're trying to help agencies identify patterns or trends of driving behavior that can lead to a negative outcome. It's not intended as a sergeant in the back seat to micromanage a particular how hard you took a left turn, but really looking for those patterns of behavior that are outside what's considered prudent in a law enforcement environment. And it is specific to the unique environment of law enforcement driving. Creating things I already said. Yeah, to really define telematics, there's the more traditional approach that deals with vehicle health and maintenance, routing, work efficiency, and even entertainment or navigation type things. More specifically in the law enforcement environment, we're dealing with driving behaviors that can be considered unsafe and really patterns and trends of unsafe driving behavior that can lead to a bad outcome. We're also doing vehicle health and maintenance things to help better manage fleets, but most particularly we're focused on safety. Sure. This is a really important thing to me. It's very close to my heart. I'm, first of all, a former police officer myself. I'm a trainer in the Below 100 program, and on a very personal note, I've lost my only brother and a cousin to law enforcement line of duty vehicular incidents. And I've been to far too many law enforcement funerals for brothers and sisters in blue that I may never have met, but who've died in the line of duty. There absolutely is. There's no question in my mind it works. Our customer, the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office here in Washington State, has had dramatic results in their first year of implementation, with preventable crashes down about 60% and overall crashes down over 50%. There's no question it works when used properly. The Sheriff's Department here has shown tremendous leadership in implementing this in what to me is the ideal way, rewarding positive behavior, not focusing on discipline, but instilling a department-wide culture of safety from the top down, and it's absolutely making a difference. I think it works for a couple reasons. One, they have inculcated a culture of safety through pervasive Below 100 training for everybody in the department. They worked collaboratively with their unions to reinforce the fact that this is a safety matter, that everybody's best interests are served by everybody going home safe at the end of the shift. They've exhibited leadership. They've used a reward-based system, not a discipline-based system, and they walk the walk. It's a passion for the sheriff, for the undersheriff, and anybody in the department can see that. It's a genuine thing for them, and it is all about safety, not discipline, not anything else. Yes, they're saving money. Yes, they're having a lot of other positive outcomes, but first and foremost, this is a safety program. To me, we've had a phenomenal partnership with the Snohomish County Sheriff. Their leadership and their true passion for doing this for the right reasons and doing it the right way has been exemplary. We're a sponsor of the Below 100 program. I believe their mission and ours are tightly intertwined, so there's a natural fit there. And their staff has been phenomenal working with us, making it an even better product, fine-tuning things like hard braking and hard acceleration thresholds specific to the law enforcement environment, not a commercial fleet. Police driving is completely different, or very different than other types of driving. The environment is very different. They're out in all weather, all conditions. The worst of conditions we're sane people stay off the roads. They don't have that option. So this product is really focused on the way law enforcement officers drive, and they've been instrumental in helping us make that an even better product. They're a perfect partner for us.
Implementing this technology.
I think the most dramatic benefit Snohomish County Sheriff's Department has realized is increased safety. They've had dramatic reductions in their crashes, both preventable and non-preventable. That's the probably best benefit, best outcome you could hope for. But along with that, they're saving a lot of money. Their annual liability costs have gone from in the $2 to $3 million range to near zero. They're saving money just on reducing idling, something as simple as that. In fact, they're covering the cost on the system just by reducing idling. They've been able to do a more efficient job even of contract city service delivery. They contract with 7 different municipalities for law enforcement services and are able to generate a report through geofencing of how much patrol time is spent in each of those cities. There's tremendous benefits. They've had a couple crashes and have been able to establish that the overhead emergency lights were on in the vehicle when that was in some conflict with witnesses. There's scads of benefits. First and foremost, safety. A strong second is the financial savings they're realizing, which is very significant. Part of the challenge in talking to other law enforcement agencies is the education process. Telematics is not a technology that's well known in law enforcement circles. So there's first just establishing what it is, then talking about what it can do for you. And frankly, using Snohomish County's statistics is a very effective tool in demonstrating real-world examples of the benefits of telematics. Police chiefs, sheriffs around this country are acutely aware of the fact that more of their officers are dying every year in vehicular incidents than anything else, and that this is a real tool for reducing that. In my mind, there's 3 components to driving safety for law enforcement. One is basic skills that they learn in the academy, and frankly, that's not a lot of hours compared to, say, firearms training, but that's one aspect. And some agencies get no further in-service training through an officer's career. The second is a cultural and mindset change through programs like Below 100. And the missing piece until recently has been measuring the effectiveness of all that, identifying where your problems lie and things that need to be corrected through positive and proactive coaching. Our telematics solution closes that gap, and people are increasingly understanding that right away. And Below 100's very, very widespread through the country. This, as that missing link, makes a lot of sense to them. The primary use case, and really the use case for which it was designed, is about driving safety. We collect a lot of very granular detail about how vehicles are being driven, hard braking, hard acceleration, seatbelt usage, light bar status, many, many other things. Producing a driver safety scorecard, which can be customized by the agency in terms of what elements they want to include in that scorecard and the relative weight of those different events, to produce an index score from 0 to 100, which makes it very easy to identify outliers who are showing patterns of behavior over time on driving safety that sooner or later will have a bad outcome. And this gives tools to have a positive, proactive intercession in there with hard data. There's no debating whether or not a vehicle is traveling at 85 miles an hour with no headlights, no overhead lights, and no seatbelt on. That's a fact. Now let's talk about why that happened. Was it appropriate? And if not, what can we do in the future to curtail that type of behavior? That, to me, is the absolute best use case, and to me, if I were a police chief today, would make me an absolute customer. This is a tool to save lives.
And how is that unique in the industry?
Probably the most unique thing that we have is our manufacturer relationship with vehicle manufacturers. For instance, we worked closely with Ford Motor Company to develop law enforcement specific data that we're extracting from their vehicles. We also operate on other manufacturers' vehicles as well, but we work with Ford on the police driving environment. We get data from Ford Police Interceptors that a third-party type vendor cannot get. So we're getting a lot more data, a lot more granular data than anybody else can obtain. Sure, and to some extent, the onboarding process varies by the size of the fleet and how many vehicles are involved. Customers generally do the installation of the physical device themselves. It's about a half-hour task per vehicle. There are other options, but that's what most people seem to take. And then we have multiple types of classes depending on the role of the person we're talking to. The system administrator, who's going to manage the system and be able to set permissions and those types of things, is going to take a little more extensive training than say a field sergeant who may be operating the system. We can conduct classes in person on site. We make a lot of use of WebEx online training, and those are our primary approaches to that. Training process really, given that we're doing a couple different groups in most cases, is a few hours, 3-4 hours per cluster or type of customer. So it's actually a pretty rapid onboarding process. The installation is generally the more difficult part, only in terms of getting vehicles in, getting them installed and back out in the field. That takes some time depending on the fleet size.
Accessible?
Sure. Our technology platform is well established. It's what we've been using since 2001. There's a small physical black box that's installed in the vehicle. There's a connection typically made to the light bar switch on the console that will denote when the light bar has been activated. The black box contains the firmware to read data from the car. It's got a cellular data modem in it that transmits the data, and a GPS antenna and receiver. There's no external connections, no external antennas. We transmit data every 30 seconds routinely, plus we do it whenever a triggering event takes place, which can be as simple as a 30-degree heading change. So if you turn a corner, you're sending an update. The data is transmitted over cellular data, stored on our servers, US-based servers with extremely high levels of security. In fact, our law enforcement data is even partitioned separately from our commercial clients. And our customer agencies access it through a secure website on a browser from anywhere, as long as they have the proper credentials. And within a customer department, there'll be different levels of access for different people based on their roles, and that's completely within the customer's control. Our technology in the law enforcement space, where it's different from our commercial side, is our data frequency is much quicker. Commercially, it's typically 2 minutes. In law enforcement, it's 30 seconds plus whenever a triggering event takes place. Security is higher, and we're collecting a lot more data elements in the law enforcement side, particularly on the driving behaviors category. Light bar is but one example. Front passenger seat belts another. There's a number of additional data elements we're getting from a law enforcement vehicle that we're not getting from a commercial truck, for instance. This is a real passion and a commitment from us. We've invested a lot of money in this product. We appreciate and value the contributions that law enforcement makes to this country and the risks they're at. And we want to do our part to keep them safe. So we've made a product. We've tweaked a product. We're continuing to fine-tune that product. We've devoted a lot of energy and resources into it. We're always working to make it better. And this is an aspect we really want to stick to. And frankly, lessons learned in the law enforcement driving environment, which is about as harsh as it gets, will carry over to a benefit on the commercial side too. If law enforcement and the type of driving they do can have the kind of results the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office is having, then any fleet manager can see tremendous benefit too. So it's a synergistic product, frankly, to our commercial side. Honestly, I'd like to see every police car in the United States and ultimately worldwide have our telematics solution in it. It will keep not only law enforcement safer, but the citizens they share the road with safer too. To me, it's honestly a no-brainer. There's no reason not to do this. It will save lives. If you're a chief of police or a sheriff and this technology is available to you at a very reasonable cost, where you'll see returns many times over the expenditure and save lives, there's no reason not to do it. Sure. The Below 100 program is something I really believe in. We really believe in it. I'm a trainer for the program. We've become a financial supporter of Below 100, and I think the two missions completely align. Below 100 is trying to reduce annual officer fatalities to fewer than 100 a year, which we haven't seen in 60 years. Most of that through driving awareness. We teach 5 things: wear your belt, wear your vest, watch your speed, pay attention to what's important now, and remember that complacency kills. We can help monitor essentially all those things and be a constant reminder. The benefit, as others have said, one of the primary benefits of telematics is knowing it's there. It makes you more conscious. It changes your mindset. It changes your awareness. I wear a fitness tracker on my wrist. It doesn't make me do anything, but it buzzes if I'm not active enough. It tells me my calorie burns for the day. It keeps me aware, and it's made a difference in my health. Telematics can do the exact same thing, and it is doing the exact same thing. And we're a great tie-in with Below 100. I believe in their mission. I think they believe in ours, and together it's an unbeatable combination. The Sonoma County Sheriff's Office has been recognized on a national level for their efforts in traffic safety for their officers. Dale Stockton, one of the co-founders of Below 100, has told Under Sheriff Beidler on multiple occasions that they're writing the book literally on traffic safety. And I think that's really true. And they're getting recognized for those efforts. Awards aren't important to them particularly. They're honored by them, but that's not why they're in this. They want to keep their deputies and citizens safer. The National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial and their Destination Zero program recognized them with the National Officer Traffic Safety Award in May in DC. I was privileged to be at that event. In September, they're receiving another national award from the Governor's Highway Safety Association in Louisville. And what it shows is they've taken that step, that commitment from the top down. Everybody in the department is committed to safety, and they're doing some innovative things to do it. Below 100 is absolutely a factor there, and they've been told that their implementation of telematics is really what set them apart from other agencies who are also doing safety programs at Below 100. And it's a great recognition. None of us are doing it for that, but I couldn't be prouder of them, and they absolutely deserve those awards for what they've done.
Reiterate that point.
Sure. We first started talking to the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office at the International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference in October 2015. Shortly after 2016 began, and they were committed in 2016 to that being the first of many years of focus on officer traffic safety, we did a small pilot program with them for 10 units for about 60 days. And they were very impressed with the results. They ultimately went to a request for proposals. We competed in that, were selected, and their full implementation of the system didn't take place until February of 2017. But they've been using the system in one form or another to one extent or another since spring of 2016. And in conjunction with Below 100 training, they started seeing results immediately, and they continue to get better as time goes on.
And in that short amount of time, they've also received recognition.
And they have, in fact, received 2 national awards for their efforts already, and it's still early. It's going to keep getting better. One of the disturbing factors we see year after year in law enforcement fatalities are single vehicle crashes. There's a lot of preventable crashes out there. Single vehicle crashes are almost by definition the most preventable and arguably are self-induced in many cases. In those instances, the driver loses control of the vehicle. They typically leave the roadway, hit a tree, pole, or go into a ditch. In a disturbing percentage of them, the officer's ejected, which means he or she's not wearing their seatbelt. The fact that they left the roadway, lost control, means they've exceeded the vehicle's capabilities or their driving capabilities and or weather and road conditions. And I can almost guarantee you that that day or that night that fatal crash happened was not the first time that officer had driven that way. Their luck just ran out that shift. Had the agency had access to data about how they were driving before that crash, they could have intervened, taken action, and that officers still be out there working today. And that's a disturbing percentage of the fatalities every year. Absolutely. Police officers are by definition and to an extent by desire and recruitment targeting type A personalities. They want to be the first to act. They want to be the first to get there. They want to make a difference in their community. And that's great. That's admirable. We don't want to discourage that. But the simple message of you can't help if you can't get there is super important. Getting there fast is important. Getting there 30 seconds later will almost never make a difference, but you'll get there safe, you'll get there alive. And if you do crash, along with you not being able to help, you're going to divert other resources to your incident and away from whatever the initial emergency was. Getting there safe is the most important thing. Getting there 30 seconds earlier will rarely make a difference. So we are working to change that culture. You don't want to drive slow, you don't want to dawdle, but you want to be prudent, you want to be safe, you want to be conscious. Even in pursuit driving, by definition, some of the rules go out the window. You don't stop at a red light and clear the intersection before you proceed through. Just as one example, you're going at speeds you normally wouldn't go at. But if on a daily basis you're driving in a more aware manner, in a more conscious manner, that's going to carry over into the pursuit environment too and make that at least a little bit safer. Sure. GPS tracking, which sometimes is an area where there's an objection about privacy or being micromanaged, has far more benefits that greatly outweigh any potential negatives. Whether it's reconstructing a pursuit where you need to document every turn, every stoplight that's blown, it's a great tool for something that simple. But more from an officer safety perspective, if you're in a fight, if you're down and can't get to your radio, or can just blurt out that you need help without being able to give your location, your dispatcher is going to know where you're at. A citizen calling saying an officer's in trouble, which happens fairly often, but can't give a good location, it'll still get pinpointed with GPS. Really critically, if you're in a crash and your airbag deploys, there'll be an immediate notification sent to defined people in the department, typically, say, the dispatcher and the watch commander. And every year around the country, there are at least several instances where an officer fatality is related to a single vehicle crash, where he or she's either unconscious or can't get to the radio or unfortunately died, where the only reason something amiss is recognized is the fact the officer doesn't answer their radio or doesn't show up to a call to which they've been dispatched. The entire shift stops what they're doing, searches for the officer, and eventually they're found wrapped around a tree pole or in a ditch, long past where help could be beneficial. Here, that's not going to happen. People are going to know immediately that there's a crash and where it is, and help's going to get there in a big hurry. It's absolutely an officer safety benefit across the board. It's come a long way in my 40 plus years now, from something as awkward as using a teletype machine to run a license plate, and having bench seats with no retractors on the seat belts or shoulder harnesses, to very pervasive, to the point where today's police officer has a challenge of being a distracted driver on top of everything else. In law enforcement driving, not only are you trying to drive safely just on routine patrol, but you're also constantly alert for threats surrounding you, for criminal or suspicious activity, for vehicle code violations. There's that layer. And then you add to that things like radar, your two-way radio, your mobile data computer, your cell phone, maybe a pager still in some agencies. It's got to be managed. Technology presents solutions. It also presents challenges. One of the good things here is this is in a sense, a passive device. The driver doesn't have to worry about his telematics system. That's something in the background that's helping keep him safe, helping his department keep him safe, that he or she doesn't have to worry about in the car. But there's so much more technology, license plate readers, tons of things, and it's a very different world today. Technology is not necessarily always a good thing. Technology is not always the solution to a problem. Here, I think it is. To me, as I've said before, I think this is a no-brainer. We lose too many police officers to vehicular incidents. It's been a problem for decades. We now have a solution that will go a long way at stemming that. It's a tool. It provides lots of information. Department leadership's got to take that information and use it to keep their people safe. But if you do that, and it's not hard to do, we're going to make a real difference in safety on the roads for police officers and the citizens that share the roads with them. This is an area where you can really make a difference for your citizens, for your officers, your deputies. That's easy to implement, will pay for itself many times over, and can help curtail the stream of officer fatalities from vehicular incidents. It's a new technology in law enforcement space, but it's a proven technology with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of vehicles around the world. This technology is easy to implement, easy to manage, and gives you a phenomenal tool to take a leadership role in keeping your people safe. We lose too many officers in instances where it is preventable, where intervening early could make a difference. To me, as a chief, as a sheriff, this is something you really need to do to keep your people safe. It's a great tool. It's there. We've seen the phenomenal success the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office has had with it. You can have that same level of success and keep your people safe. I know telematics is a new concept for law enforcement. It's a pretty established and mature technology with many hundreds of thousands of vehicles around the world operating and benefiting from it. Your agency can benefit from it too. And just contact us for more information. We'll be more than happy to get you started.